Hi everyone, welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. A friend of mine is having a little baby boy this summer, so I had to make a baby boy blanket. We haven't made a lot of boy-specific things here on the channel before. I like to think that most of the baby stuff we make is kind of good for boys or girls. It's just sort of maybe the colors that you choose. This, however, is a very cute stitch. It's not overly frilly. It doesn't have a crazy busy border. It is, in fact, a thinned down version of my favorite stitch pattern of all time, the falling leaves stitch. If you've made anything with us using the falling leaves stitch, then you'll know what I'm talking about. This is a faster, slimmer version of that. It makes really cute vertical stripes, it makes really cute horizontal stripes, but more importantly, it's the yarn color that you use. So I used an Ice Cream Big Scoop by Lion Brand, and we'd like to thank Lion Brand Yarns for sponsoring today's video. We've made a lot of different projects using the ice cream yarn here on the channel in the past. We'll link to some of those in the description box down below if you'd like to see what some of the other colorways look like. Typically we make a baby blanket with a Big Scoop because it's a lot of yarn. It's a size 3 lightweight, it's a baby yarn, it's 100% acrylic, it's nice and soft, and the best thing about the Big Scoop yarns, or I guess the ice cream yarns, is that they are ice cream flavor inspired. So the colors are really adorable, but they're self-striping. So they take all of the brain work out of the striping concept for you, and they do a particularly nice job, I feel, of blending all the colors together. That is a bunch of blues and white, and I think it's beautiful. It's a really nice bunch of shades of blue and white. They give you nice long stripes in a particular color, and then they blend ever so easily or gently into the next one, so there's no jagged or obvious color changing, so you can really just turn your brain off and let the pattern do all the striping for you. That said, if you don't want to use a size 3 lighter weight yarn, like also known as a DK weight, and a smaller hook, I used a 5mm, which is an H or an 8, because you're in a bit of a hurry, a pound of love would be just as perfect with this pattern and this particular stitch. Pound of Love is a size 4 medium weight yarn, also by Lion Brand, and it's a 100% acrylic as well. It's also kind of considered baby-ish or baby soft. You could use a bigger hook, so that means that you can make a shorter foundation chain, you can make fewer rows, you can be done your blanket even quicker. So it's entirely up to you what you feel like using. I love both, but today it was a big scoop because this is Blueberry, which is just perfect for the new little boy that is going to be arriving this summer. And I had to differentiate it from the super fruity, tutti fruity colors of the blankets I've made his big sister. So there's that too. Anyway, let's grab our hooks, we'll grab our Ice Cream Big Scoop, or maybe even a Pound of Love. We'll head on over to the craft table and we are going to stitch ourselves up a vertical striped blanket. Or maybe a horizontal striped blanket. I'll let you decide. Today's baby blanket is being made with Ice Cream Big Scoop by Lion Brand. This is a size 3, lightweight, 100% acrylic yarn. There's over 1,000 yards or meters in each ball. I will probably need around 550 to 600 yards for today's blanket. If you have loose tension, you might need a little bit more. If you have tight tension, you might need a little less. If you're making it smaller, you'll need less. If you're making it bigger, you'll need more. Either way, you should get one blanket out of a Big Scoop by Lion Brand. You want a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, a stitch marker might be helpful, and I'm using a 5mm hook. This is also known as an H or an 8. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. I recommend making a quick sampler size so that you have an idea of your gauge. I chained 12 and then worked the pattern stitch for 5 rows in total. My piece measures 8.5 centimeters wide by 5 centimeters tall, or 3¼ inches wide by 2 inches deep. And if yours is much smaller, you can just chain more for a longer foundation row and just work more rows. So that's if you're using a much smaller yarn, maybe a smaller hook, maybe you have much smaller tension. If yours is really big and your gaps are too small, or I should say your gaps in between stitches are a little too large for comfort, then you might want to size down your hook or size down your yarn weight. Either way, there is no right or wrong sizing for a baby blanket. You can always add more border, you can always chain more to make your foundation chain longer and therefore a wider blanket, and work more rows to make it bigger. So lots of possibility and flexibility with this pattern. pattern can be worked over a foundation chain row that is any even number. Any even number. I'm going to chain 130, but you can chain as many or as few as you like. Once you've chained 130 or any even number, we can begin row 1. Today's pattern is a 1-row repeater. It's based on a kind of 2-stitch concept, and I've switched up my background color. It's a pink. I'm hoping that contrast is enough for this light blue and white yarn I'm using. But today's pattern is so easy. Once you get it into your head, you'll be zipping along in no time. We are going to skip the first chain from the hook. We are going to single crochet and double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So both stitches, single crochet and double crochet, are both worked into the same chain. Skip one chain, find the next one, and repeat. Single crochet and double crochet into the same chain. Skip the next chain, find the one after that, single crochet and double crochet into the same chain. So single crochet, double crochet into every other chain. You're going to skip a chain in between, single crochet, double crochet into the next chain, all the way across. You will have exactly the same number of stitches that you had foundation chains when you get to the end of your row. And your last little combination of stitches, skip one, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, will land in your very last chain. I'll let you work away at that, and I'll catch up with you at the end of row 1. Once you've worked single crochet, double crochet in every other chain all the way across, your last single crochet, double crochet will end up in the last chain. And from here on out, it's the same row repeating. Chain 1 and turn. You will always skip your turning chain, skip the first stitch, and look for the second stitch, and that will be the single crochet of the last little pair that ended the last row. You're going to single crochet and double crochet into that next stitch. So always ignore your turning chains, skip the first stitch, and then single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch. It will be the single crochet from the last row. Then it's skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch. Skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, and so on all the way across. Skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch. It's that sweet little seed pattern that just keeps repeating over and over and over again. Skip a stitch. And it's always the single crochet stitch from the previous row that you work the single crochet, double crochet into. So you're skipping over top of the double crochet and you're working single crochet, double crochet into the single crochet stitch. And then all of your little seeds will lean in the other direction. So every other row, you're going to count sort of, you're looking for the seeds that first lean in one direction and then lean in the other. So there's row 1 leaning in one direction, and there's row 2 leaning in the direction opposite. Every row they lean in one way, and then the next row they lean the other. So that is 2 rows, or the second row started. Skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet in the next stitch. Repeat that all the way across. I'll catch up with you there, and we'll just make sure you know what you're doing from here on out. When you get to the end of a row, you're going to skip the last double crochet from the previous row. Look for the last stitch. So you skip a stitch and then single crochet, double crochet in the last stitch. Every row will end the same way, and that last stitch will always be a single crochet from the previous row. Single crochet and double crochet into the last stitch. You'll still have the same number of stitches as you did in the previous row. So same stitch count every row. I had 130 foundation chains. I had 130 stitches in row 1. I have 130 stitches in row 2. So however many foundation chains you made, remember it needs to be an even number, you will have the same number of stitches in every row going forward. And that is the delightful little pattern. Chain 1 and turn. Skip a stitch, which would be the double crochet from the previous row. Look for the second stitch, which is the single crochet from the previous row's last pair of stitches, and then single crochet, double crochet into that stitch. Skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch. You repeat that all the way across, ending the row with single crochet, double crochet in the last stitch, chain one turn, skip the first stitch, and then single crochet, double crochet in the next stitch all the way across. It is such a delight. You'll be speeding along in no time. It's one of those stitches that once your fingers kind of get the hang of it, you kind of know where you're going to aim your hook and where everything's going. You're going to move really, really quickly. And remember, when you're counting rows, you're going to move first. You're looking for the stitches that first lean one way, and then the other, and then the other, and then the other. And that's how you count. So we know that we've done 1, 2, 3 rows so far. And I'm going to let you finish row 3, and then we're going to talk row count. That's 3 rows complete now. I just love this little pattern. It's so sweet. It looks like a bunch of little seeds planted in a row, first leaning in one direction, and then leaning in the next direction for the next row, and then leaning in the next direction for the next row. So I'm 3 rows in, and I'm just going to keep chain 1, turning and repeating row 2 over and over and over again. And that's all there is to this pattern. If you want to make this blanket any length, you can end on any row number you want. So there's no number of rows that you have to repeat in order for it to work with the border. So you can just work away until your heart's content. I'm going to do 100 rows total because that will bring me to about 100 centimeters in height or 40 inches. So that's sort of the target measurement I'm going for, but you can make it longer, you can make it shorter. It's entirely up to you. All it is chain 1 turn, skip the first stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, and so on. You will always end a row with single crochet, double crochet in the very last stitch, chain 1 turn, and continue. I'm going to let you work away at that. I'll see you at the end of row 100. I have completed 80 rows. So because I am not making my blanket to have stripes that are widthwise, you're looking at the widthwise version, then 80 rows is more than enough for me. If you're making a widthwise blanket and you want the same measurements as me, which is roughly 25 to 27 inches wide by 35 to 37 inches tall. Remember, this is before blocking. When you block it and with use, it's going to stretch out a little bit. Then you will probably want to go for 120 rows if you want your blanket to have the widthwise stripes, and that's over a foundation chain of like 96, 94 chains, somewhere in that ballpark. But I am making a blanket with the lengthwise stripes, and 80 rows is already wide enough for me. I still want to add a border, and I'm really powering through that ball of yarn, which is fine because I've been trying to be as loose as I can with my tension on this particular project. So I just love the look of these little stripes running lengthwise. 80 rows is more than enough for me. I'm already hitting the 25-inch mark without blocking or stretching. So 130 foundation chains by 80 rows is good for lengthwise stripes on a baby blanket. So I am stopping at 80 rows for lengthwise stripes. If you're doing widthwise, you might want to go up to 120, but you'll have a much shorter foundation row. So we'll basically be making and using the same amount of yarn. Either way, when your blanket looks like it's gotten to a nice size, you can stop at the end of your last row. Doesn't matter what row number it is, it really doesn't. And we will start the border. The border's first edge row is exactly the same as every other row. When you get to the end of that row and you want to start your border, chain 1, turn, and continue with the exact same pattern all the way back across. So you're working your first row in the exact same stitch pattern. Your border row starts like anything else. It only changes when we get to the end of this edge. And then we're going to start working along the raw edges of our blanket. So chain 1, turn. When you're ready to do the border, head all the way back just like you normally would. And when you get to the end of that row, or that edge, I'll catch up with you there. Once you get across to that last little single crochet, double crochet you work into the last stitch, you're going to chain 2, and into the same place, single crochet, double crochet. and that's your corner. Now you're going to rotate your blanket so that you're working down your first raw edge, and you're going to have this little bump, 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 bump kind of activity happening. All you're going to do is go jump over that double crochet and into the little divot in between, work single crochet, double crochet. Jump over that double crochet stitch and into the divot, that little stitch in between, single crochet, double crochet. Over that edge, single crochet, double crochet. Don't be too tight. You don't want to tighten up the edge. That little stitch is going to just give some framing to the edge of your blanket so your blanket doesn't want to spread on you, because it is kind of a stretchy little pattern. Skip over the double crochet into the stitch between, single crochet, double crochet, and really let that double crochet carry you over to the next spot. So jump over top of the long double crochet stitches that are along the raw edge, and they're characterized by that little bump, 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 bump. You're looking for the anchor stitch that it's sitting in. That's where you work single crochet, double crochet. So you're just continuing that sweet little seed-like stitch pattern all the way around the blanket. So you're going to do this all the way down your first raw edge, whether it's long or short. And when you get all the way down to the bottom, which will be the foundation chain row, I will catch up with you there. When you get down to the bottom, work your last single crochet, double crochet into the foundation chain at the bottom of that raw edge. So you're now entering the foundation chain row. So skip over your last little bump and into the foundation chain that's right at the edge. If you ended on an even row, it'll be your first foundation chain. If you ended on an odd row, it'll be the foundation chain at the bottom of your single crochet. Either way, it's the first one at the edge there. Chain two and do the same thing. Single crochet, double crochet in the same foundation chain. And then, just like the first row we did, it's skip 2 chains, single crochet, double crochet in the next chain. The only difference here is that you've got sort of an obvious thing to look for. You can just look for where that next one is rooted. So you're looking for where the motifs are attached. Just anchor your little motif in the bottom of that one. So single crochet, double crochet in that little space. I'm going to work over top of my short tail. You're skipping 2. Just look for where the next motif is already anchored. This makes it so much easier to work that little pattern all the way across. Just look for the anchored motif from row 1, which is a single crochet, double crochet, and work single crochet, double crochet into that little space. You're going to do that all the way across, and I'll hook up with you at the end of this edge. As you get across the bottom of your foundation chain row, you're going to find that last motif you made. Slip your hook in there, and this is where we're going to make the corner on this edge. So single crochet, double crochet in the bottom of that motif, chain 2, and before you leave, single crochet, double crochet in the same place. There's your little corner. So now we've worked across 3 sides. We've got a lovely frame happening. You're back to your second and last side. This is also your, I should say, your second and last raw edge. It's your last side. And it's the same thing. You're going to hop over the bumps. If you feel like you need to stick in one more before you do your first bump, go ahead. If you feel like your bump is right there, this is all depending on how many rows you did. You know, you're just going to sort of settle yourself. I'm going to put an extra one in right here, because why not? It's a short little motif. And then remember, you're looking to hop over the little lump. You're putting single crochet, double crochet in the anchoring stitch, hopping over the lump. Try not to make that single crochet very tight. You don't want to shrink or tighten the edge of your blanket, but it is a stretchy little pattern, so with blocking and use it will stretch out a little bit. But if you feel you want to stick in one extra one before you get going, go ahead. If you don't think you need it, don't bother. It's a very flexible little pattern. It's a lovely little edging. It's, again, doesn't require your brain to do a whole lot because you've been doing this little pattern the whole way along, and it just gives it the cutest little frame. It's nothing fancy. That's why it's so nice for boys or girls, but definitely for boys. It's a nice solid little frame. And you're on the home stretch, so I'll let you work away at that. I'll catch up with you back up at the top. Okay, we're coming up on the end of the row. Now, because we went in the same direction all the way around with this pattern, it's going to look a little funny when you come up on it. So this is very obviously a place where I want to put a single crochet, double crochet motif, but then that brings me up to the top edge. Well, if we look at it, remember all of our little single crochet, double crochets are going to be leaning in this direction because that's the direction we were going. So that means that this little guy down here is actually a motif from the second last row we did. So I want to make sure I anchor one in the same place that the first one of the row is anchored. Single crochet, double crochet, and then chain 2, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet I made. So don't be fooled when you get all the way back around. There's going to be a place that looks like that's the edge motif. It's actually not. You want to make sure you anchor an extra motif before you finish off that row, ensuring that you put a motif in the same place that the first motif of your border row is. That said, you're just aiming for a nice corner. However you want to get that is entirely up to you. It depends on your tension, so don't sweat it. If you get up to the top and you're like, yeah, that looks like enough, do your last motif, chain 2, and join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of that row. And as long as it looks like a good corner to you, then it's a good corner and it counts. You can fasten off, weave in your tail, and then if you are giving this as a gift, I highly recommend giving it a light wash. I like to put mine in the sink and give them a nice wash, or into one of my washing tubs, and I hand wash it. I do it lightly with lukewarm water and a little tiny bit of detergent. I really vigorously move it around with my hands, and then I rinse it, and I rinse it a couple times to make sure that all of that soap is out. And the reason I like to wash them before I give them away is that it helps to break out all of the little broken fibers, the bits of fluff, any of the smells that may have been in the air when you were crocheting. It just helps to freshen it up and get rid of any tiny little odds and ends, little bits and pieces of fluff that might be there, because this is for going to be going to a baby. So I want to make sure that it is in its best possible condition when it gets there, and also it gives me an opportunity to let it dry flat so that it dries in a nice shape. I will then fold it up, wrap it up, and send it off to my friend who's having a little baby boy soon. This little pattern is just so cute. I love the single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet. I just love that tempo, the melody almost in that pattern stitch, which is another reason it's going to quickly become my favorite, or at least top 5 for sure. Obviously, I like the falling leaf stitch, which is the bigger version of this. This one's so much faster, and it's just as cute. I'm definitely going to be using it in some other upcoming projects because I love its simplicity, and yet it's so pretty too. It makes a really nice baby blanket, and it's the kind of thing where you can just turn your brain off and let the pretty yarn do the work for you. So all those pretty stripes, that's just the Ice Cream Big Scoop at its finest. And a big thank you to Lion Brand once again for sponsoring today's video. I really enjoy working with the Ice Cream Big Scoop. I really enjoy working with the Pound of Love. I literally flipped a coin over which yarn I was going to use to make this particular baby blanket. But I'm really glad I went with the long self-striping color in the Ice Cream Big Scoop because I really love these stripes. And it pointed out to me that you can make this blanket with vertical stripes or horizontal stripes. It's just that pattern is just so flexible. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed making this blanket along with me. If you'll excuse me now, I've got to go wash it, block it, let it dry properly, wrap it up nice and pretty, and then send it on its way to my friend who's having a baby. She's got a very busy summer ahead of her, so hopefully this will put a smile on her face, and maybe the babies too at some point. We'll see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a great week. Bye guys!
Hi everyone, this is Mama InStitches. Thank you for watching. Here are a few other videos you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can also click the like button and the bell. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.